If you are watching this, it is likely because you feel a deep, persistent sense of confusion that you cannot quite shake. You might be exhausted, not just from lack of sleep, but from the mental effort of trying to make sense of something that refuses to make sense. You replay conversations in your head, searching for the moment things went wrong. You analyze your own words, wondering if you were too sensitive, too demanding, or simply not enough. There is a heavy fog around your reality, and no matter how hard you try to clear it, the doubt remains. Please hear this clearly right now. You are not crazy. You are not broken, and you are not the problem. What you experienced was not a normal relationship dynamic that failed due to incompatibility. It was a systematic dismantling of your trust in yourself, orchestrated by someone who needed you to be uncertain so they could remain in control. This video is not here to demonize anyone or to keep you stuck in anger. It is here to offer you clarity. We are going to look at the untold reality of narcissistic abuse, not through the lens of drama or villainy, but through the lens of psychology and human behavior. We will explore why this happened, how it affected your nervous system, and most importantly, how you can reclaim the peace that was taken from you. To understand what happened to you, we must first dismantle the idea that love should feel like a constant test. In healthy relationships, conflict is resolved through communication and mutual respect. In the dynamic you experienced, conflict was used as a tool for dominance. The core mechanism at play here is not hatred, but a profound inability to tolerate shame or vulnerability in the other person. When someone with these traits feels criticized, ignored, or challenged, they do not process it as a difference of opinion. They process it as an existential threat to their self-image. To protect themselves, they must shift that discomfort onto you. This is known as projection. But it goes deeper than simple blame shifting. It involves a subtle, often invisible restructuring of reality. Over time, you began to doubt your own memory, your own perceptions, and your own emotional responses. This is not because you are weak-minded. It is because the human brain is wired to seek consistency and safety. When the person you trusted most becomes the source of unpredictability and danger, your brain enters a state of hypervigilance. You started walking on eggshells, not because you wanted to, but because your survival instinct told you that keeping the peace was the only way to stay safe. Let's look closely at the cycle that kept you trapped. It usually begins with idealization. This phase feels intoxicating. You were seen, heard, and valued in a way that perhaps you had never experienced before. This is often called love bombing, but that term can sometimes minimize the genuine connection you felt. It wasn't necessarily fake in the moment. It was intense. But the purpose of this intensity was to create a bond quickly, bypassing the usual gradual buildup of trust. Once that bond was established, the devaluation began. This shift is often so gradual that you barely notice it until you are deep in it. Small criticisms replace compliments. Silence replaces conversation. Your needs, which were once prioritized, become burdens. The psychological impact of this shift is devastating because it creates a cognitive dissonance. Your mind holds two conflicting truths. The person who adored you is the same person who now dismisses you. To resolve this tension, your brain tries to find a reason. You start to believe that if you just try harder, if you just explain yourself better, if you just become the person they initially saw, the love will return. This is the trap. You are working for a reward that is being deliberately withheld to maintain control. One of the most damaging aspects of this dynamic is the erosion of your boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are the guidelines that tell others how to treat you. In a healthy relationship, boundaries are respected. In this dynamic, boundaries are viewed as challenges. Every time you said no, every time you expressed a need, it was met with resistance, guilt-tripping, or anger. Over time, you learned that asserting yourself led to punishment. So you stopped asserting yourself. You began to shrink. You silenced your opinions to avoid conflict. You ignored your own discomfort to keep the peace. This is not submission. It is survival. But the cost of this survival is your sense of self. You may have found yourself asking, "Who am I outside of this relationship?" Or, "What do I actually like?" This loss of identity is a direct result of having your reality constantly invalidated. When your feelings are labeled as overreactions, when your memories are corrected, and when your intentions are twisted, you eventually stop trusting your own internal compass. You begin to outsource your reality to the other person. You look to them to tell you if you are good, if you are right, if you are worthy. This dependency is not a character flaw. It is a conditioned response to an unstable environment. Another critical element that is rarely discussed is the role of intermittent reinforcement. This is a psychological concept where rewards are given unpredictably. If you received kindness and affection consistently, you would feel secure. If you received cruelty consistently, you would leave. But when you receive a mix of both, cruelty followed by sudden warmth, silence followed by intense attention, your brain becomes addicted to the relief. The moments of kindness feel exponentially more powerful because they follow periods of distress. This creates a trauma bond. It is not love. It is a biochemical attachment formed through stress and relief. You stayed not because you were weak, but because your brain was chemically hooked on the hope that the good version of the partner would return permanently. You were waiting for the other shoe to drop, but also hoping it never would. This state of constant anticipation keeps your nervous system in a chronic state of fight or flight. You are always scanning for threats, always analyzing tone, always preparing for the next shift. This is why you feel so exhausted. Your body has been running a marathon while standing still. It is important to address the silence too. The silent treatment is not just a pause in communication. It is a form of emotional abandonment used as punishment. It triggers our deepest primal fears of rejection and isolation. When someone withdraws affection and communication without explanation, it sends a message that you do not exist unless they acknowledge you. This forces you to chase them, to apologize for things you didn't do, just to restore the connection. It reinforces the power imbalance. They hold the key to your emotional stability, and they withhold it to ensure compliance. This behavior teaches you that your worth is contingent on their approval. It teaches you that love is conditional and fragile. But here is the truth. Love is not a transaction. Respect is not something you earn by shrinking yourself. Connection should not require you to erase your humanity. As you begin to step back and view these patterns objectively, you may feel a surge of anger. This is natural. Anger is a protective emotion. It signals that a boundary has been crossed. For a long time, you may have suppressed your anger because it was unsafe to express it. Now, as you gain distance, that anger may surface. Do not judge yourself for it. However, the goal is not to stay in anger, because anger still ties you to the person who hurt you. The goal is to move toward indifference. Indifference is not coldness, it is freedom. It is the realization that their behavior is no longer relevant to your worth. It is the understanding that their inability to connect authentically is a reflection of their internal limitations, not your inadequacy. When you reach this stage, you stop trying to explain yourself to them. You stop trying to get them to understand your pain. You realize that they cannot give you what you need because they do not possess it themselves. Healing from this experience requires a fundamental shift in how you relate to yourself. It requires rebuilding the trust you lost. This starts with validating your own experiences. When you remember a moment where you felt dismissed, acknowledge it. Say to yourself, "That was painful, and it was not okay." When you recall a time you were gaslit, remind yourself, "My memory is valid. My perception was real." You must become the witness to your own life again. This takes practice. It involves listening to your body. Your body kept the score even when your mind was confused. Notice where you hold tension. Notice what situations trigger anxiety. These are clues pointing to where your boundaries were violated. Honor those signals. Start setting small boundaries in your daily life, even with safe people. Say no when you want to say no. Express a preference when you usually defer. Reclaim your agency in small, manageable steps. You must also grieve. Grieve the relationship you thought you had. Grieve the time you lost. Grieve the version of yourself that was suppressed. Grief is not linear. Some days you will feel strong and clear-headed. Other days the fog may return, and you may question everything again. This is part of the process. Do not rush it. Healing is not about forgetting. It is about integrating. It is about taking the pieces of your experience and arranging them in a way that makes sense, so they no longer have the power to destabilize you. You are learning to differentiate between intuition and trauma responses. Intuition is calm and clear. Trauma responses are loud and urgent. As you heal, you will learn to trust the quiet voice within you again. A crucial part of moving forward is understanding that you cannot change the past, but you can change the narrative. For a long time, the narrative was that you were difficult, unlovable, or flawed. That narrative was imposed on you. Now, you get to write a new one. The new narrative is that you are resilient. You survived a complex psychological environment. You maintained your empathy in a place that tried to crush it. You sought truth in a place that offered only distortion. These are strengths. They are evidence of your character, not your weakness. You are not damaged goods. You are a person who has undergone a profound transformation. You have learned to spot manipulation. You have learned the value of consistency. You have learned that peace is more important than being right. These lessons, though painful, are invaluable. They will protect you in the future. As you rebuild, focus on stability. Narcissistic dynamics are chaotic. Healthy relationships are boring in the best possible way. They are predictable. They are safe. Do not mistake the absence of drama for the absence of passion. Real intimacy is built on trust, and trust is built on consistency. Look for people who show up the same way today as they did yesterday. Look for people who respect your no without making you pay for it. Look for people who are interested in your thoughts, not just your reaction to them. You deserve a love that does not require you to solve someone else's insecurity. You deserve a partnership where you are an equal, not a resource. It is also vital to reconnect with the parts of yourself that were abandoned. What did you love before this relationship? What hobbies did you set aside? What friends did you drift from? Re-engaging with these aspects of your life helps rebuild your identity. It reminds you that you are a whole person, independent of any relationship. You are interesting. You are capable. You are worthy of joy simply because you exist. This is not a platitude. It is a fact. Your worth is inherent. It was never up for debate, even though it was treated as such. Finally, be patient with yourself. Healing from emotional manipulation is like recovering from a physical injury. You would not expect to run a marathon the day after breaking your leg. Similarly, do not expect to fully trust yourself or others immediately. Take it one day at a time. Celebrate small victories. Did you stand firm in a boundary? Did you recognize a manipulative tactic in a movie or a conversation? Did you choose rest over rumination? These are wins. Each one strengthens your neural pathways for self-respect. You are emerging from a fog. The air is getting clearer. The confusion is lifting. You are seeing things as they are, not as you were told they were. This clarity is your power. It is the foundation of your new life. You are no longer defined by what was done to you. You are defined by how you are choosing to heal. You are choosing truth over comfort. You are choosing self-respect over approval. You are choosing peace over chaos. This is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a chapter where you are the author. You are safe now. You are understood. And you are free. Keep going. The path ahead is yours, and it is bright.